if you look at now the way you're saying that President Ruto was part of the same regime which has worked and he wants to audit the public debts, then he has told us so many other things. If you look at his concessions, has he met the Gen Z demands?
Partly. But remember, there's the elephant in the room.
Yes.
There is the side shows. There's so many side shows, so many demands. Like Tanui is saying, we can, if you don't have goodwill, nothing will move. You can say that there's no longer an office of First Lady, right?
Yeah.
But the budget that was allocated there comes through presidency. Yeah. So formally it's not on paper, but informally it exists, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens? Or we go the Uganda way, where Janet is the Minister of Education, Janet Museveni, so that formally you're doing some job, right? Or it remains the spouse, the ceremonial, she has to be there with the president. Or they pick a course that they can champion, right? So that is very necessary. So the side shows that contributed to the main agendas, most of them have been addressed. Most of them have been addressed. The fundamental, when this thing started, was reject the finance bill. It was the big one. It was addressed. It was rejected. Even that invites for goodwill, right? Then now there are these other issues that support the main issue. The main issue is that this country needs to change, and the agents of change are us. However, you will be the carriers of our vision. So the carriers of our vision must also be people who really and truly represent our ideologies and our wants. Are those people still with the president? I think that is the main question. The president has a constitutional mandate. He has the sole discretion to choose who works and who doesn't. Parliament only approves it. Because I'm telling you this, Charles, when they are done with the presidency, they're going to go to parliament. They will go to parliament. Because now they'll begin with their representative down in Migori, Suna East. I look for Junet. Is he doing the right thing? Right? All my small brother and nieces will look for them. So this is something that continues. But first it has to start from the top, like they usually say, the proverbial fish. When President Ruto sorts the top, these guys are coming for the tail. Because Kenya has to change.
Yeah.
And okay,
there's something very interesting there that it almost flew off my mind.
Yeah.
That you should look at the president, look at the picture, the space he had carved himself in the global geopolitics. You know, that he's a young president, one of the most educated. He's cut from a different type of cloth from the other presidents.
Yes.
He speaks for Africa. He talks about the need for, almost like Thomas Sankara.
Yeah.
And then, and he was hosted in the US. Weeks later, what's happening? The whole world, CNN, Sky, the CNN effect, it is him and about deaths in his country by his military, by his forces. He's surrounded by tanks. And he was slowly becoming like, the image of the African strongman. So the president has to redeem his international image because he was fighting for it. And I think at a different level, I suspect that it must be agonizing him. That the things he's being associated with are very different from the trajectory that he promised. And he has no choice but to crack the whip on his friends, sacrifice friends, and restore confidence in himself.
Let me ask you, Tanui, just on that question. The president, we did the story, and this was a splash in the Standard, of how many times the president has traveled. 63 times in 20 months, right? 163, 166, and Kibaki 33 times. My question to you, Tanui, is this is an average of 3 times every month in the last 20 months.
Yes.
An average of 3 times out of this country in a month. The president has been in the country for 3 weeks straight. Is it by
isn't that a compliment? You compliment him. Can you compliment him? He's been with us the longest.
I haven't asked my question.
Yes.
The question is this. Is he not getting invites? Because you've just mentioned now the geopolitics, right? Is he not getting the invites, or he has to take care of business?
I'm sure the biggest secret in this country now is in his diary.
Yes.
How many countries were we waited for?
Yes.
And where were the advance parties? Where were the plane bookings, hotel bookings, security arrangements? And even locally, he's not going.
Anywhere.
He didn't even go. He didn't go to the burial of his deputy's sister's burial.
Yeah.
So I hope you're not just saying the youths can be very rough on the president. They said when he's not flying, he's lying. So I hope he's not flying, but he's not lying.
Both of them, because he's not flying. Definitely.
He's not flying.
So what is he doing?
He's
I'm
not
saying
lying.
anything.
He's not lying.
But the truth is,
Yeah.
he's fighting fires.
He can't travel.
He can't. He's
And
fighting.
no one is living.
How do you
And
live?
the nature of this thing, the way it was so sporadic across the country, it was so unexpected. I don't know whether intelligence had picked it. So I suspect that he's been given the brief that until we are sure about what we are dealing with, we will not allow you to travel. Yeah. So you don't. It's very unlikely you start seeing the president going. Saying to Tatenga on
And receiving delegations from other governments also.
Yeah. So the thing is very, very. It's a turning point in Kenya. You know, it's a turning point.
And remember, one of the things he said today is unnecessary travel. Cut.
So will determine what is
Who is
unnecessary.
necessary?
He even said that's why I was saying this thing is.
I hope it's not
interaction.
cosmetic.
Because he said half of the advisors. Who are those advisors?
Who are-
Because every minister has an advisor.
Yeah.
So who are these advisors, and how do they advise, and what is a job description of an advisor? If you are competent for that position, well, there are experts you'll need occasionally at the president level, for example. But if you're a minister, why do you need an advisor on what you are doing when you have technocrats in the ministry?
Exactly.
We have an overlap of so many functions.
But don't forget something, Tanui. One of the people who have been speaking loudest at the young people is, for example, Dr. Devin D. Right?
Yes.
So when he says half, you know, when Kenyans, the elephant in the room, when they say get rid of these people, you know, that is one of the people who the young people are targeting. He's an advisor. So when the president says, I've cut by half, when eventually the names come out,
And
you know
he
what
is not
Kenyans,
there.
if that name is not there,
Yeah.
Kenyans will not see the goodwill that Tanui is speaking about. Because that's what Kenyans want. They say, how can these guys ask for an extra 1.1 billion? For what? What are they advising? What he's talking about? What are they advising you? So at the end of the day, when cut by half, whether they are 16 or 116
10.
or 120 or 10, they need to see 5. But out of those 5, who is in it?